The presentation of the eulogy is on a public media platform. Because I was denied the right to speak at Mum's funeral service by the other 5 surviving members, even though I made all of her decisions under the Guardianship Act and financially supported Mum for over 30 years. The eulogy is given on behalf of my mum and those that loved her, of which there were many, and is a tribute to her amazing life. Dear loved ones and friends, I am here today to talk about the passing of my mum, Teresa Mary Glossop, née Henry. She was a loving and devoted mother to her 7 children, 15 grandchildren, and 27 great-grandchildren. Without her love, I would never have achieved the academic success I have had in my life. I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to Mum for providing me with guidance, love, and tenacity to never give up. Mum's nurturing and love flowed through to each grandchild, as each of them had a special relationship. When I've talked to the grandchildren over many years, there is a deep level of respect, trust, and advice bestowed as the next generation flowered and prospered, like planting a seed in the ground that springs into life. Mum was so proud of her grandchildren as they encapsulated the same values of generosity, goodness, and integrity. When the grandchildren were growing up, some remember each Christmas and school holiday spent with their grandmother in her home at 272 South Street. Their nan provided the 3 essentials in life: food, a bed to sleep in, and love. But above all else, she made them feel safe in a harmonious, loving environment. Mum often took them to Fremantle and bought them lunch at Coles cafeteria on school holidays. The grandchildren that lost their mother so early in life, Janice Donaldson, spent these special times with their grandmother, and each one of them treasures these memories. Mum filled a void, so their emptiness was softened with love, devotion, and compassion. Each Christmas and birthday for decades, Mum sent each grandchild and their spouse a present. She never forgot any one of them. Each person leaves an indelible footprint on the earth, either good or bad. Some believe the currency of life is material wealth, while others, like Mum, gave away most of her worldly possessions. We are born with nothing, not even a blanket to keep us warm. We cling to our birth mother as the protector of our soul and our being. Our departure is similar, where money and material wealth are meaningless. We pass through from one life form to another, leaving behind the story of our being in the minds of family and friends. My mum's currency was helping those in need, irrespective of colour, creed or culture. It was a natural desire to be part of the struggle between survival and desperation. Mum changed people's lives with generosity and kindness without asking for anything in return. These qualities guided her through life as if passed down from the biblical times through the generations. However, Mum's philosophy is fraught with danger in a never-increasing world of materialism. But throughout Mum's life, it was as if she had a guiding light shining through the darkness to the promised land. It would be foolish to expect all the recipients of generosity to be grateful. Many charlatans took advantage of her kindness. Most of these were her own children. However, those others remember the loving woman who inspired compassion, hope, and love and did not want anything in return. An example of her impact on the community and everyone who knew her was the boy who lived next door, Murray Enright. The home where Mum lived, 272 South Street, for nearly 60 years was sold out from underneath her by Mum's eldest daughter, Carol Ann Cashin. Mum was homeless once the property settled. One of my nephews convinced me to ring Murray Enright as he worked for Homes West, a state housing social provider. I hadn't spoken to Murray in over 50 years. I rang and told him of my mother's plight of becoming homeless in a few weeks. Murray told me, Mr. Glossop, I've known your mother my entire life. I have never met a woman as kind and generous as your mother. You do not need to worry. I will find a home for your mum." 3 weeks later, after the conversation, true to his word, Murray found a Homes West property in Edmund Street, Whitegum Valley. Mum's currency in life of love, devotion and faith played a pivotal role in the Good Samaritan that came to her rescue. There are numerous examples of Mum's impact on people. Unfortunately, time has only permitted me to tell a few. Doing what is right from birth to death takes longer than a day, a month or a year. It becomes ingrained in your character, where trust is earned, not bestowed. You also have to become a saint-like figure to follow this strategy through life. Some people have trouble in not sinning each day, let alone for a lifetime. Others, like Mum, are so committed to their faith that they are unable to sin. Mum's resilience, tenacity and determination kept her family together, were on display with each crisis, of which there were many. Even when the local police knocked on the door, Mum treated them with the respect and dignity they deserved. The police reciprocated, and Mum was always treated politely and respectfully. Mum commanded respect and admiration because of her underlying faith and demeanour. In addition, she had a moral and ethical compass beyond reproach. Nevertheless, there were many dark days growing up, with not enough food on the table to feed a family of 7 children and 2 adults. I recall on several occasions when Mum and I and my brothers and sisters went around the corner to the supermarket in Manila Avenue to shop. The shopkeeper provided a system of credit each month. There were times when we were told to put food back on the shelves because we had run out of credit. The meals we had were never enough, and I was always hungry. Mum was a loving, generous woman that went without food many times just to keep her children fed. I have never forgotten those days of hunger. Each time I eat, there is not a crumb left on my plate. And I think of Mum and the sacrifice she made just so we would have enough food in our body to survive. During the week, Mum worked in nursing homes, cooking food for the elderly and earning enough money to support the family. She worked from dawn until late at night, caring for and supporting those she loved. Mum showed what was possible with hard work, determination and a desire to succeed no matter the challenge. One of Mum's most remarkable attributes was her generosity. Later in life, when my wife and I visited, I opened the kitchen cupboard and there was hardly any food. Mum had given it all away to her daughter and children. The material objects in life had no meaning. Mum's generosity was limitless. She worked as a volunteer for St. Vincent de Paul's shop in South Street, Hilton Park for over 30 years, helping those in need and giving to her community. Only recently, when I was in my nephew's car, Mark Glossop, I realised the full extent of my mother's impact. Mark received a phone call from someone who wanted to know if Mark knew Tess Glossop, a good friend of his mum, Faye. Mark chirped in with a proud and boisterous voice, "That's my Nan." The caller's mum worked for St. Vincent de Paul's alongside my mother. They were great friends with similar lifestyles, enjoying each chapter in life and turning the page to the next with optimism and faith. Mum's generosity and dedication had touched the lives of so many people, and it was heartwarming to hear about her impact. Mum's kindness and faithfulness left a lasting impression on those she helped. St. Vincent de Paul's became her new home amongst other like-minded Christians with a heart and a soul. These were God's children coming together, creating a family without hate or the stain or the shame on their soul. Mum's daily routine included saying prayers by counting her rosary beads each morning. She attended Christ the King Church for over 50 years, living her faith and spreading love to those around her. She was a beautiful, loving Christian who has now moved on, leaving her mark on each of us that can never be forgotten or removed. Not only was she a saint on earth, but now she is one in heaven. Unfortunately, Mum was struck down with dementia in her later years. I visited her at Aegis Carrington Nursing Home in Hamilton Hill just before the pandemic. and I will never forget her parting words to me. My wife Michelle asked if Mum knew I was her son, Graham. Mum replied, "I don't know who you are, but I like you because you're a cheeky bugger." Despite her condition, Mum never lost her sense of humour, and her warmth and love continue to shine. Mum's passing has left a hole in my life, and I will miss her dearly. But we will carry her kindness, generosity and legacy of love with us always. We will remember her as a devoted mother, a faithful Christian and a shining example of what is meant to live a good life, fruitful life, encapsulating the values of integrity, trust, generosity and love. Above all else, Mum demonstrated the Christian faith embedded into her subconscious mind and soul. The faith she had in God was never questioned from birth to death. I commissioned a portrait of Mum from the painter Michael Zeta from a beautiful photo of her in 1941 when she was 17. It hangs above my office table in my home in Foster. It's as if Mum will always look down on me, showing me the way through the darkness with her shining light of love, devotion and generosity. Mum was my hero. She taught me to look down into my soul, find the truth and not be afraid and carry on. She taught me to find the same resilience, tenacity and the hero deep inside of me. Mum, you taught me how to be like you. These words were not mouthed to make me feel good. Mum was a living day example of them during her lifetime of faith, Christianity, tolerance, compassion, love and understanding. Above all else, Mum, you taught me to love and not to hate. You taught me to forgive those who trespass against me, as I have forgiven those who have trespassed against you. In conclusion, I thank everyone who has offered support and condolences during this time. Your kindness and generosity have been a source of comfort to my family, and I am deeply grateful. And to my dear mother, thank you for everything. You will always be in my heart. I will love and miss you forever. There is a part of you that lives on in me and other Christians with a heart and a soul of generosity and love. God gave us a beautiful mother, and without Mum's love and guidance through my childhood and adult life, I would have ended up being part of the forgotten, wandering aimlessly through life without a purpose or a soul. I am so thankful you were my mother and my hero. I celebrate your remarkable life of resilience, tenacity, as you continue to walk taller than all of us. Goodbye, Mum. I love you always. Your son, Graham Francis Glossop.